welcome to Eureka, coming at you from Science Brainwaves and P87. In the studio today we have me, Charlie.
Me, Jason.
And me, Richard.
And this week's episode theme is Halloween. Word of warning, we have already recorded this episode once, so if we refer to last time or the time before, then that's what we're talking about. Due to technical errors, we had to re-record. So what we're going to be talking about this week is obviously the news of this week, ghosts, zombies, and then the science behind why we get scared. And of course we have the quiz, but first we have the news. Okay, so this week's news, the first news story that we've got is how we could dim the sun to save our coral reefs from global warming. Climate change is obviously a daily topic of conversation these days. Keep hearing about how the reefs are dying. I think it was a news story a while ago, like the Great Barrier Reef is dead.
Yeah, through coral bleaching.
Yeah. And we're still not equipped to stop that happening. Obviously, the heat from the sun is warming up the world because the heat's being trapped and absorbed by all of the greenhouse gases that we have pumped into the atmosphere, which is nice of us.
Yep.
And this heat is heating up our oceans. So, some wacky geoengineers have suggested that there are a few ways that we could artificially cool the planet, which are giant mirrors to reflect the sun.
Yeah.
Which we determined last time is giant mirrors in space.
Yeah,
not just like people with bathroom mirrors in the Sahara Desert.
Just like, we're going to have to get rid of the Sahara and like make it glittery. Although that wouldn't be good.
Well, it'd be good for tourism.
Yeah, I suppose. The glittery desert. Making our clouds more reflective. I'm not sure if we ever worked out how we would do that.
They've got specific like sulfur or something, sulfur-like particles that they force into the evaporating water from the sea, so the clouds have a more reflective capacity.
Yeah, because global warming is essentially because the UV hits Earth, and then that's reflected as infrared, which is heat.
Yeah.
So it just reflects the UV before it has a chance to...
Before it becomes infrared.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So apparently they've used computer models to show that adding sulfur dioxide to the atmosphere would significantly decrease the rise of sea surface temperatures by 2069 by a backscattering of a portion of incoming sunlight due to its reflectivity.
It's not fast enough though, is it? 2069.
No.
Well, the target's like 2050, and if we don't get anything done by 2050, we're all going to die.
Yeah, and then there's all like the things where it's like in 3 years, if we haven't changed, like we've gone past the point of no return and all this sort of
I think I'd already heard that we'd gone past the point of no return. I mean, this is all very morbid and I guess spooky, so it's within the theme of Halloween. Yeah. We're all going to die.
Okay.
And come back as zombies or ghosts.
Yes, potentially.
Trap souls in the greenhouse gases.
That's what greenhouse gases are.
Trapped souls heating up our atmosphere. So this research is very important because when corals get too hot, they expel the algae that feed them, which is the coloured bits, and then they become bleached and die. Not a global solution, it says here, would have to be localised, but could help coral reefs temporarily. We need more solutions to our impending doom.
Yeah.
They need a lot more solutions. Apparently they've just like the Australian government have just carved through a massive section of the coral reef for like a shipping route or something. And they've just like...
Oh my god, how is that legal?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea. Someone was telling me the other day, I was like, what about the protected areas?
Yeah, I read the other day that so the two countries that are not in the climate agreement are the USA, because Donald Trump's pulled out, and Syria.
Yeah.
And they're the only two countries that
are didn't China just join recently or something?
Yeah, like, is it only in the whole world is the USA and Syria? So we definitely need to be doing more. But yeah, moving on to maybe some slightly cooler news. I wouldn't call it happier. Research into the mantis shrimp, which is a insect. It's got its arms up like a little boxer.
Yeah.
Has shown that they can generate a force of 2,500 times their body weight in 800 microseconds, which is 800 millionths of a second.
That's crazy.
It's mad. And it's shown that it's due to a 4-stage linkage system which builds up the energy before releasing it all at once. So if you imagine like an archer, when you pull back the bow, it's like all of that elastic energy that's built up, and then you propel it forward.
Didn't we work out that was enough to break your finger? Yeah, something like.
Yeah, if you put if you annoyed a mantis shrimp and put your finger in front of it.
If you were just flicking a mantis shrimp and it would just have a go at you.
It's mad. Like if you extrapolate that to like humans, it's like just throwing a punch, and if you punched a truck and the truck went flying across the road or something, I think that's like 2,500 times their body weight.
That's ridiculous.
And also in like 800 millionths of a second.
Yeah.
So quickly. But they're very, very cool. Apparently it's used in territorial contests. So whoever withstands the most hits wins. Interesting. I don't know if it could break a human finger. I don't know what it could do to a mantis shrimp.
Must have pretty solid jaws.
Well, I assume they have like an hard exoskeleton.
Yeah, they'll have like a hard exterior for that kind of thing. But we've also got listed here some other animals known for their boxing behaviours. So trapjaw ants box using their antennae. Recorded up to 41.5 hits a second, which is very speedy moving. And then some of the mammals known for their boxing behaviours are brown hares, often started by females for not wanting to mate, fighting back.
Give them a slap.
The infamous red kangaroos, whose apparently oversized forelimb, so their arm, is sexually selected for them to be able to maintain territories and fight off other males. And then also zebras and giraffes also box and kick to defend, to fight off large predators.
I don't know about the zebras.
I didn't know about zebras. I've not seen it, but then it's not.
And
been
the giraffes
on
just swing their necks around at each other.
That was on Planet Earth.
I know that like zebras kick like lions away.
Yeah. Well,
but giraffes do as well.
Yeah, and then the giraffes hit each other as well. And apparently also the secretary bird has a very strong kick, which is maybe not 2,500 times the strength of its own body weight, but 5 to 6 times. And it can knock off the heads of venomous snakes that it likes to eat. Knocks off, decapitates.
I think they've really undermined the bird by calling it the secretary bird. Like, it should be called like the decapitating bird or something like that.
Maybe it's called secretary bird for another crazy reason. Yeah, can decapitate snakes. That's
probably where the word secretary probably comes from, sort of like a guard or something.
Snakes. And then our last story that we've got in the news is actually one that I read recently in the New Scientist. Dogs can smell fear and it makes them scared too, which is very cute and sad. We already know that dogs are clever, obviously, because they're the best. And we have them working for our eyes and ears and rescue dogs and therapy dogs. But the smelling power of dogs is only just becoming a highly researched topic. So this study was done on pet Labradors and Golden Retrievers. And then I've seen it before where they do it with cancer patients, where they collect like odours and the dog will go around and it will sit in front of the smell of the person that has cancer. So this was very similar, where they collected different types of sweat, apparently happy sweat, scared sweat, and then a control which had no sweat in it.
Did we ever work out what happy sweat was?
No, I don't know what happy sweat is. Like, is exercisey sweat happy sweat?
I suppose it must be just sweat that is made when they're not. Yeah.
When you're not scared.
Yeah.
Just make
any
the room
other time.
hot.
Yeah, like the recording studio. So then the dog owner and a stranger were present for the experiment, and the dog's response was recorded when the sweat dispenser released particular smells. So in the happy or control condition, the dogs were calm, more interested in the stranger in the room and not their owner, which is heartbreaking. But then in the fear odor condition, dogs displayed very stressful behaviour, increased heart rates, and showed much more attention to their owner. So they were very stressed out by smelling those, I guess, pheromones too.
But then, like, knowing my dogs, sometimes they'll just run up to like a stranger and start like licking them, like just randomly, and then other times they'll try and kill them. Even though they're only, I should say that they're very, very small dogs. So
what are they?
the miniature Jack Russells and miniature Dachshunds.
Oh, they're so cute. Miniature Dachshunds.
How small are they then?
I'm like a Dachshund that's pretty
Dachshund,
small.
yeah.
Yeah, well, the Jack Russells, I don't know, imagine like a size 10 shoe.
Okay.
Oh, that's so small.
And then the Dachshunds are a bit slightly longer and chunkier.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, well, my dog, we always joke that if we ever had a rubber, she would just like go up to him and be like, hi, rather than actually defending her territory. But yes. So that was the news. And up next, we are going to be having a discussion about ghosts.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about ghosts. We're going to start off with defining what ghosts are, as that's always important in science. Define your subject.
Before we start talking about it.
And then we'll go on to some scientific explanations for why people might think they see ghosts, or why ghosts actually do exist. We'll have to wait and see what comes up in the definitions. So, ghosts are defined as a soul or spirit of a dead person, and the concept of them has been around for years and years, even to pre-literate civilizations. They're usually considered translucent, like a mist or some kind of subtle material, which I suppose is quite helpful if you're walking through walls. Yeah. And stories of ghosts and similar entities have been found in multiple different religions and cultures. So in Buddhism, you can be reborn as a hungry ghost as part of the reincarnation process. And so they're beings who are never satisfied, constantly hungry, and this is a result of being greedy or evil in an earlier life.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, never satisfied and constantly hungry sounds like a student on a night out, but maybe not the evil part of that.
I had a mate who told me that he goes to the friary on his way out.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's not natural.
He goes,
all right.
It's like that.
Why would you do
He'll
that?
go out and then he'll come back and have another friary. Like that's...
He doubles up on friary,
doubles up.
like a friary sandwich, really, with a night out in the middle.
Maybe he is evil.
But
Maybe
yeah.
he's definitely coming back as one. Absolutely. But we have to not confuse these hungry ghosts with regular ghosts, which are said to become after death. So
once your reincarnation process has stopped.
Yeah.
So I think these are really trapped souls of hunger.
Yeah, I looked it up after last time, and that is what Slimer from Ghostbusters is based off of.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Just for people at home who know what Ghostbusters is.
Maybe I should watch it tonight as it's Halloween.
Yeah, watch the original one. I haven't seen the new one, but I haven't heard it's very good.
I've not heard great things about the new one, but the feminist in me is like, should watch it.
Yeah.
Watch both at the same time.
Oh, God. No, I don't think I could cope with that. I have a short attention span as it is.
And then we've got other kinds of evil spirits. So we've got demons, which in the Middle Ages were spirits that were considered evil, or ghosts which were lost souls. So there seems to be a difference between trapped souls and just something that's hanging around.
Just something that won't go away.
I thought demons were just things that have come from hell. It's not like a person, it's like Satan's spawn type stuff.
Yeah, and it's like poltergeists as well. I thought that they were like ghosts, but they're not. Apparently it's like just when somebody's having like a really bad day, they give out like a bad energy.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like no one can agree on what kind of ghosts.
We're going to have to contradict you massively.
We're going to have to do like a meta-analysis. Harry
Yeah.
Potter we can definitely bring
Peeves was a poltergeist.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but Harry wasn't having the best of days in Hogwarts, was he?
Oh,
No,
right, so
Harry
you're saying
was
they're
always
like an
grumpy.
apparition when you...
It's essentially like all
bad
like
energy.
your negative energy like manifests into sort of like
All right.
I
an
still
interesting
definitely
theory.
believe in peeves though.
wasn't it in the films though?
No, he wasn't in the films.
It's mental. Why didn't they include him? And
Back to the science.
Back to the science. We've got eyes, which are a type of primate in Madagascar. and they're thought of by the locals as evil spirits, and they often kill them on sight, which means that they're now a very vulnerable species.
Yeah, they're endangered. I mean, I can see why you would think they were evil. They are very odd-looking little things.
I'd suggest Googling it whilst you're listening to this.
Google it, and then maybe we can tweet a picture of it later on the episode.
Or just one shot of their hands with that really long index finger.
With just the one long finger that they used to poke into trees and hook out insects with.
It'd be very useful though to have like a really long finger sometimes. Like if you wanted to get someone's attention at like the other end of the table.
Teachers must be like, when they beckon you to come here. So in Madagascar, if one is spotted in a village, they think that will predict the death of one of the villagers.
Oh, so that's why they think they're evil. That's very sad.
Yeah.
It's strange how legends like that can
affect
and
biodiversity.
How they even come up. Like, how did they start thinking that that's what happens?
Well, I mean, when you don't really understand the world and you see something that looks like that.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's just they saw one, a couple of days later somebody died, and they put the two together.
Yeah.
Or like one fell out of a tree and killed somebody by just like impact.
With its long finger or something.
It's like, oh, well, these are evil.
Let's move on to scientific explanations. So, the science philosophy is that the existence of ghosts can't be falsified. So, there's no way to really prove or disprove their existence. So,
because you can't prove a
Santa
negative.
Claus.
So we have to. Yeah.
You have to prove a negative. You have to find the thing and then work backwards.
Yeah.
Like you have to find the ghost and then say like why it is. But so you can't prove a ghost by not having a ghost.
But science isn't going to give up with just that, so they're going to try and give alternative explanations for people seeing or feeling ghosts. So the first one is that there's limits of the human vision. So peripheral vision is not as accurate as obviously your central vision, so you can be more easily misled into seeing things out of the corner of your eye, and your mind plays tricks on you.
Sort of a thing astronomers do to see like distant galaxies. If you look using your peripheral vision, it seems brighter, so you can actually see it in the night sky.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Then we also have pareidolia, which is the innate human capacity to see or hear patterns in inanimate or random objects, sounds. So, seeing Jesus in your toast. Or in your avocado, for those hipsters out there.
Was there a Jesus in an avocado? Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe there was Jesus in avocado toast.
In avocado toast, there you go.
You could quite easily make one of those.
It's the same thing when you look at clouds, or if you look at a random pattern, you usually manage to see an eyes and a face in there. So I think it's an innate human.
Yeah. Oh, it's like those ink blot tests, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you see in them?
Tea leaves.
Tea leaves, the Grim.
Back to Harry Potter.
If I can circle it back round to Harry Potter, I will try.
There's also another explanation for seeing ghosts or feeling ghosts is carbon monoxide poisoning.
Cheery.
So it causes people to hallucinate, and has been suggested as an explanation for haunted houses.
Ah.
Yeah, because all really like old haunted houses have like big fireplaces with like poor ventilation.
Yeah.
So if you're just burning a log.
And like creepy old pipes.
Yeah. So you're more likely to get hit by like carbon monoxide poisoning there.
It's quite interesting though. You'd be on the brink of going to sleep and not waking up again then from carbon monoxide poisoning, wouldn't you? Because that's you tend to not even realise there's no scent or anything.
It's like so dangerous
in
student houses.
And barbecuing in tents and stuff on festivals.
Who barbecues in a tent?
Yeah, they get those disposable like little barbecue trays, and they do it in their tent, and then all the oxygen's burnt up, and then.
Oh my god! Why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's an easy way to get trapped inside a melty, horrible old tent too.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. In the Firth Court lifts, you're not allowed to bring anything in that like releases gas, just in case the lift breaks down.
Why only in first court?
I think they've got a lot of research.
Okay.
So it's more likely you've got something like that.
Oh, I see.
It's quite a few dangerous chemicals.
So you have to be really careful on the stairs. Passing people with gaseous.
Oh God.
Well, no, because I had some liquid nitrogen a couple of days ago.
Of course.
Just bringing that up the stairs, and it's like a lot of people started trying to walk past me, and I'm like, just let me pass, please.
I have a bucket full of liquid nitrogen here. Please let me pass.
It was only in like a small container as well. It was like a thermos flask, so it was if I dropped it.
Oh right. I thought you were saying you're going to walk around with this stuff and the steam's just coming down.
Oh no! The steam's all coming out and like down the stairs. So obviously, if the lift had broken, then the entire lift would have filled with nitrogen.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very interesting.
Back to the science. We've also got infrasound, which can cause the sort of creepy feelings that are associated with ghosts, such as a cold chill or feelings of sorrow, anxiety. Yeah. So the infrasound is very low frequencies of sound. You were saying like 19 to 20 hertz or something.
Yeah, I think it's about 19 hertz or less is.
That's weird. My parents told me a story. They said they were in Greece and they were walking along this beach, and there was forest at the back of the beach basically. Mm-hmm. So they went exploring in there and they came across this house, which was all.
Oh God, I hate the story already.
It was all like ruined and abandoned and stuff, and it was my parents and my dad's brother, and they split and they all went looking around the house by themselves, came back.
Why?
And like rejoined, and my dad was like, did you feel anything strange or anything like that?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we felt really cold and just like bad feeling inside. So when they went back to the village, like that had people in it.
Yeah, that wasn't abandoned.
He asked about that house, and it turned out that there was like a satanical group that sacrificed humans in that house and stuff.
Oh my God! Oh, that's horrible. I've got chills.
Is it infrasound or is it just really evil?
Who knows? We can't prove it.
Well, the Nazis did build an infrasound weapon, so maybe they were sacrificing people using infrasound.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote an article on it a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, that.
And
people say that it's a really weird feeling when they go to like Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's.
I think that's because you know the history behind it as well. Like, I feel like there's a certain amount of like self-fulfilling prophecy there.
True.
Yeah. Very interesting.
So, in reference to infrasound, French et al. In 2009 tried to construct their own haunted house by exposing people to infrasound and fluctuations in electromagnetic fields. And whilst this did result in some weird feelings, the biggest predictor of these weird haunted feelings was, like you just said, suggestibility.
Yeah. I feel like if you're like, this house is haunted, then you're like,
yeah,
I can feel stuff and see stuff. Whereas if you were just in a...
Especially if you believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
I think you're more likely to...
Student houses always feel a bit haunted because they're always a bit old and creaky and cold.
In my house, I was visited by Jeff the Disco Ghost, which is a joke from last time.
Yeah, we were saying that ghosts are never like... They're always like from the 1800s. They're never from the 80s. You never get Jeff the Disco Ghost, but Richard does in his house. So, do we have anything else about ghosts?
We have sleep paralysis, which occurs when people are conscious yet unable to move. So you kind of wake up in the middle of sleeping, in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And people have...
Your brain's awake, but your body's not.
Yeah. Ooh. And people say they've had, like, seen an old woman kind of, or witch, like, sat on top of them, which kind of gives them explanation of why they can't move.
Yeah.
As well as these awful hallucinations.
Yeah, I think like the Japanese word, it might be Japanese or it might be something else, but like the word for sleep paralysis is something like the demon's foot.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like something's like stood on you so that you can't.
That's horrible.
It's scary how common that seems to be.
Yeah, it's found in like all cultures as well.
Oh, creepy.
But it's due to like hormones not working at the right time. So it can really happen to anybody.
God,
even you.
Oh God. Hopefully not.
According to our research, it's possibly caused by mirror neurons and the activation of the parietal lobe.
Okay.
So, That's just to add to what Richard said.
Yeah.
And that's all the scientific explanation we have for science ghosts.
Okay, well, I think next up we are going to have the quiz. So get ready. Okay, so now time for the Halloween quiz. So you guys need to pick your buzzer noises.
Thinking of maybe a wolf this time.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to make the zombie noise this time.
Yeah, that's a good one, Jason.
Or should I do? Oh,
I
I'll
like
go.
the zombie noise.
What should I do? Like... Boo. Oh no, I'll do the zombie noise.
Yeah,
it's like,
go on.
Woo.
Excellent, very Halloween.
It's the fact that I have to make a face. Obviously, you can't see it, but
Rich is pulling a very scary zombie face. Right. Okay. So, question number 1. Which of these has been suggested to be the scientific cause of haunted houses? Is it A? Yes, Jason.
Infrasound.
No. That's wrong.
Oh no!
They changed the quiz.
I've changed the
There's
quiz.
subtle wording that's
I actually haven't
changed.
changed this question.
I know. Yeah, you haven't.
So is it?
I know what it is now.
Richard, do you want to make a guess? Do you want me to read out?
Yeah,
the options
we'll read out for people at home.
Eye injury, darkness causing a mini stroke, carbon monoxide poisoning, or bright light emitted by glowworms.
And good carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yes, you're correct.
I really thought you were going to go with the glowworms.
No, I'm not just changing the answers to the wrong ones. Question number 2. Being a werewolf is pretty bad. While it doesn't exist in real life, what disease is known as werewolf syndrome? So is it A, hypertrichiosis, B, lupinosis, C...
I'm going to go for that one.
Lupinosis.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Oh, no.
Carry on.
C, lepromatosis, or D, hypotrichiosis.
I'll go with C, the second to last one.
Lepromatosis?
Yeah.
No, that's wrong.
That was the leprosy question.
That causes leprosy. The actual correct answer is hypertrichiosis, which
I
is
thought it was that when it did it, but...
overproduction of hair. So it's known as werewolf syndrome.
That's what I thought, but then I thought, did they actually name it after, werewolf?
No, they didn't.
And then bringing it back to Harry Potter again.
Yes, that's why I put that one in, Lupin. Okay, according to the well-known scientific site, fearof.net, what is the world's number 3 fear? So is it...
We know what number 1 is.
Ophidiophobia. I can't really botch this. Ophidiophobia, fear of snakes. I'll just say that one actually. Fear of heights, fear of open spaces, or fear of spiders.
It's fear of heights. Snakes was second.
That is correct, Jason.
Yeah, I could remember the first 3, but I couldn't remember what order it was. I knew that the arachnid one was number 1.
Yeah, most people are scared of spiders, and then the least people are scared of open spaces.
I think that probably can't, because there's all that where it's you're innately born with a fear of height and loud noises.
Yeah.
So surely everybody should have a fear of height more than
spiders.
Yeah.
You would think, but apparently not. And okay, so again, according to fearof.net, what is alectrophobia a fear of? Fear of feet, fear of cows, fear of electricity, or the fear of chickens?
How do you spell that?
ALEKTORO phobia.
Chickens.
That's correct.
Oh,
I was hoping you wouldn't ask how it was spelled. That's why I put electricity in there to see if it would throw you. This one is
11 points.
This one is slightly different. This question, so not a fear but a love. So what a philia, if you will.
Okay.
What is the scientific name for a love of graveyards? So there is coimetrophobia, coimetrophilia, mortophilia, chlorophilia, or graniophilia.
The second one.
Mortophilia. No, that's wrong.
No.
Got the third one.
The third one, chlorophilia. No, that's a love of clowns. Mortophilia, I just made up.
Yeah, well, it's probably love of...
It was actually the first one. Coimetrophilia.
Coimetrophilia.
Yeah. It's spelled COI, not like the fish.
We're not doing very well here, Rich.
No, this one's definitely harder than the last one.
This one I think you will probably get because it's very similar to the last time I wrote this quiz.
Okay.
In the 2015 film Inside Out, a character and it was called Fear. But what was he wearing? Was it A, a shirt and tie, B, a jumper and bow tie, or C, a t-shirt?
A shirt and bow tie.
You've combined two options there.
I have one.
Jumper and bow tie, shirt and tie, or t-shirt?
Jumper.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that one. I was waiting to say like stripy. Because as I said, I've never seen the film, but I think I've seen.
Yeah, well, he's got like a little sweater vest on.
Because I knew it was because that's why I knew it was purple last time. But as I said, I've never I've only ever seen like the posters for it.
Okay.
So I've never.
Okay, so the film The Exorcist was also pretty scary, but when was it released? So nearest to wins. I don't know if you can see myself.
1978.
Okay, 1978 from Richard.
1984.
1984 from Jason. No, Richard is closest. It was 1973.
Oh, that was a lot earlier than I expected.
This is my favourite question, which is a new one. Okay. So, in 1999, there was a CBBC drama focusing on a girl who dressed up as a vampire and fought evil supernatural creatures with her friends. But what was the name of the main character?
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, Jason, you got in there. Mona the Vampire. One of my faves. I used to watch
that was
all
great.
the time.
I know there was Princess Giant, but I can't remember what the guy was.
He was
like a
robot?
bug guy or something. I think he was a bug.
I don't know. We'll have to go home and watch it.
It was really weird, actually.
It was really weird. I heard apparently the last episode of that got changed because they were going to make it so that Mona woke up in like a mental asylum, and it had all been a figment of imagination.
Wow.
Which I'm glad they didn't do.
The great stories that kids really connect to.
Yeah, I think they were like, this isn't really very children friendly, so no. But I don't know.
Those gruesome, like CITV had that gruesome stories for gruesome kids.
Grizzly Tales.
Grizzly Tales for gruesome kids.
Oh, yeah.
And that was quite, like...
I always used to get scared by Trapped.
The Saboteurs mean show. Did anybody ever watch Jeopardy?
No.
That was like a BEC one, and that was...
Yeah,
I think it was for like older kids maybe, but that one was like actually a fairly scary thing.
Yeah.
With aliens and...
Oh, My Parents Are Aliens. That's a good classic.
That was good.
That scared me, so I didn't watch it.
Right, moving on from My Parents Are Aliens, we have the quickfire questions. So, question number, I don't know. How many times does Halloween occur a year?
Once.
I think that was ever so slightly, Jason. This is my favourite, so I kept it in. Spell pumpkin upside down.
BNWB. KIU.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. I was just checking that it was correct.
Flipped that upside down, then it would look like the word pumpkin. If you have a box with 13 ghosts in and 2 ghosts leave the box, how many ghosts are now in the box?
11.
Yes. That's a point to you.
Yay.
And our last question, which
2
is...
plus 4, that's 4 minus 1. That's really a quick math.
quick maths. You might get some quick maths here. So our last question is obviously the Peter Andre question. So this week, Peter Andre's good friend Stephen Hawking is busy playing an international pool tournament. This means that Peter is bored, and unfortunately Peter is having to spend time with his boring wife, Emily. They are playing Call of Duty Ghosts together, a game which Peter has many fond memories of playing with Stephen. So Peter wants to 360 no-scope Emily. I still don't know what that means. But however, the game has a weird bug, which means that Peter's in-game character can only turn while he's falling. Emily knows that Peter is terrified of heights, anything greater than 50 meters. Despite the fact that Peter's character has the perk Commando Pro and cannot take fall damage, he is still scared of heights in-game. However, he's not a complete wimp, and for something to be scary in-game, it must be 7 times greater than for something to be scary in the real world. So if Peter's virtual character has a turning speed of 2 degrees per second at a falling speed of 1 meter per second, will his fear stop him performing the action and allow Emily to win the game?
Yes.
That's wrong. It won't stop him.
I sort of...
There's still 350 meters.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Still 350 meters. Because it's 50 times 7.
Yeah.
50 times 7, 350 meters. If he's falling that much, then he will get scared. But he turns at 2 degrees per second, which means that he only needs to fall 180 meters to turn 360 degrees. So.
Oh, I understand what the question's asking now.
Yeah, so he won't get scared because he's only scared of heights above 350 meters.
Yeah.
There we go. That was the quiz.
I think we've sort of. The ones
like
I got right were the ones that you got right last time. The ones you got right.
Last time we played a very, very similar quiz. But due to technical errors, I've had to rewrite. There we go. So that was the quiz. I feel like you're probably about equal there.
Nah, I think.
What do you think Jason had it?
We kept track.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
We kept track. And
of course.
It was 4 to Rich and
6 to you, I think.
No, 5. It was very close though. Very close.
Well, there we go. Jason wins the quiz. Next up, we will be having a discussion about zombies.
Okay, so as was just said, I'm going to be talking about zombies. So I'm going to start off about like the neuroscience behind zombies in film, and then sort of talk about some real life examples.
Real life zombies sounds terrifying.
Yeah, well, anybody who's seen like any horror-esque thing in pop culture recently,
oh god,
has probably seen that zombies have a compulsion to eat human flesh.
Yes.
I mean, I think in like the 70s it became something about like eating brains for about 20 years.
Yeah.
That sort of persisted. But I think the original zombie myth from like West Africa started with like eating flesh or something.
Yeah, we've moved on from brains onto flesh, apparently.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why zombies could be hungry like this is that they may have lost some hypothalamic functioning, which controls like how satiated they are.
Okay. So they're like the hungry ghosts, they never get full.
Yeah. Or just like me. Like, it's just like, oh, well, I could have a chocolate bar, why not? I've just had like 2 bowls of cereal, but I'm still hungry.
My flatmates yesterday cooked a whole dinner and then half an hour later ordered a Domino's.
I'm
They're
impressed.
still hungry.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're zombies.
Maybe. Well, people in real life that have this type of damage have a compulsion to drink and eat non-stop.
Okay.
They never really... I assume they don't have, like... Is it the hormone ghrelin? Which makes
it's something like that.
Full.
So you don't feel full. God.
And...
I need that hormone.
Yeah. And zombies, another thing about them is that they have a terrible attention span and they can only really focus on one thing that's in front of them.
Yeah.
So if you might think in like a zombie film, someone might set off an explosion or make a noise that attracts the zombies elsewhere so that they can get through somewhere. And this could be likely due to damage to the parietal lobe.
Okay.
And they experience something like a real life syndrome called Balint syndrome. Apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly.
It looks French, so we'll never know.
Yeah.
Just doing a French accent.
And this means that people who suffer from this can only see things that require the most attention at one time. And they can't perceive the visual field as a whole, which is called simultaneagnosia, I assume.
Very big word.
Very nicely pronounced.
And difficulty in fixating the eyes, which is oculomotor apraxia. And the inability to move the hand to a specific object by just using vision alone, which is optic ataxia.
Yeah, It sounds like a really horrible disease. Like, I feel like you'd feel dizzy all the time.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't. If you can't see
like,
everything in your vision, you can't focus.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, to bring the last bit, it's like try and grab something in your room with your eyes closed.
Okay.
Well, you could probably do it, but it's so much easier if you're actually looking at it.
Yeah.
And Balint syndrome often happens with an acute onset as a consequence of 2 or more strokes in different hemispheres of the brain, but in like the same area.
Okay.
So obviously it's quite rare, but it still happens frequently enough. You got 2 strokes or just like 1 stroke in a split branch capillary type thing.
Yeah.
That's bad, isn't it? Because I mean, usually if you've got a second stroke, you don't. The survival percentage isn't that great anymore.
No, so but I do suppose if you've had the conditions to get the first stroke,
you're likely.
Yeah.
But to get it in exactly the same place in the other hemispheres, and then to be rendered with this is quite bad.
I mean, it could be worse. You could have like other syndromes.
Well, I mean, to what extent do you think these patients who suffer from Balint syndrome, are they still mentally capable? Because my mum works on a stroke ward basically, and some people have just lost it and they're not the same person anymore. So
Oh yeah, I've heard strokes actually can change your personality.
Yeah,
and when you recover from them.
But then you can lose a lot of your brain and cell function.
Yeah.
Like,
they're very
I'll bring Phineas Gage in because that's what everybody always says. Because he lost a lot of his brain and still survived. And, which is weird because if you think you get shot in the head, like,
yeah, that's true.
you're generally gone. You have like a 1 in 10 chance of surviving it. Whereas like he had a railroad spike, cut through it. So to bring it back to zombies now, like zombies also walk with like a specific gait. They're generally like wide-legged and lumbering. Depending on what you're looking at, like so we'll say like Walking Dead type zombies, rather than
Shaun of the Dead or something like
World
that.
War Z type zombies.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very quick.
Which are, and they're also like infection rather than like dead reanimated, which is more
a modern concept
feasible
of zombie films now.
Yeah, because I think, as I say, I think it's more feasible. So it's like sort of
More
people
scary.
like, oh well, this could happen because I'm scared of getting infected by like the cold and maybe this virus does this, rather than, well, if I die, I'm not going to come back.
Yeah.
Like as a zombie.
Very true. So they're lumbering. What could that be called?
Yeah, well, that could be caused by spinocerebellar ataxia, which is a movement disorder caused by damage or atrophy in the cerebellum. And this can contribute to walking awkwardly, halting your walk, and having slurred speech, basic problems, which is where the zombie sound from the quiz came from. Because I was like, if you think on Shaun of the Dead when they're trying to be, like, pretend to be zombies to get to the Winchester,
Okay.
so you have to, like, lumber around and, like, make zombie noises, like, ooh, and that's where...
You're really good at those. I think you have a future career as an extra in zombie films.
Oh no, I was considering it because I knew that you can go and film The Walking Dead. You get paid quite a lot.
Really? Do you actually?
Yeah.
That's all good.
I think they have like 150 extras that they keep reusing.
Oh, okay. So you like get a lot of.
Paint them up differently each time.
But another notable zombie trait is the inability to recognise somebody from the former life. So this could be a form of prosopagnosia, which is sometimes known as face blindness, and damage to the hippocampus can cause retrograde amnesia as well, which can compound on this, and that could make everyday seem the same if you think the film Warm Bodies.
Yeah, a great film.
At the beginning he's saying like, I don't really recognise people, but this person could have been this, such and such could have done this is my best friend,
And we do the
I don't
same
really
thing
know
every
you.
day.
Yeah.
It's awful, that, isn't it?
Yeah, they always do the same thing, and I think I said last time it was like when you're deep into the summer holidays and you're like, is it a Tuesday? And then you turn out it's like 3 Saturdays from like where you actually thought it was.
And it's even more closer to going back to school.
Yeah. But now if we talk about like the real life examples.
Yes, not in humans, we should say now, before we get
Well,
too spooked. Oh.
One.
Let's see.
So, well, first you have zombie ants. You might have seen this. There's a parasitic zombie ant fungus, which can control the ants' like central nervous system, or their equivalent of a central nervous system.
Yeah.
And control the host to die outside of its nest. And generally on things like leaves, so it could be seen by like other things or get like higher dispersal of spores.
Yeah.
And this is caused by, sorry for pronunciation, Ophiocordyceps Campanoti rufipedis, which
That
is
sounds
also
right to me.
which is
very good.
known as the zombie ant fungus. I think the Ophiocordyceps is the fungus as in the Last of Us games. That is the fungus that affects humans. It's mutated from this ant fungus,
I see.
and then people get bitten, and then fungus infects them.
Ew, gross.
So essentially, as I said, the ants die attached to leaves or like the underside of them, like they'll bite onto it, and then the fungus will start growing out of the head.
Ew.
If you can see a time lapse of it, I've seen them on YouTube, and you can just see like this stalk, like the ant just like gives up, and then this stalk just slowly starts growing out of the head. It's weird. But it also manipulates the victims to die in the vicinity of the colony, so that once the stalk does grow out of the head, it can disperse into all the other ants in the colony and then propagate throughout there. And then also it makes them die in places where they could be eaten in like birds.
Yeah.
So then
Very obvious.
It's quite strong behavioural change, isn't it? Because I mean, if you think about how they're so innate to work for the colony, to then like purposely die amongst them to spread the fungus, it's really bad, really strong behavioural modification.
Yeah, quite creepy.
Yeah, that is what like 4 billion years of evolution does. But it so essentially it gets a constant supply of new hosts. If it gets eaten by a bird, then it can be released in the feces and everything like that. And this stalk is called the stroma, if people are wondering, and it doesn't grow out of the while the ant's alive. It dies by the time that it starts going out. But the infectious spores then develop into a scoma, and then are discharged onto all the forest floor below. So obviously, if they're near where the colony forage for food, those that start foraging for the food will then get infected.
Yeah.
But another example, which is much more common, and this one can infect humans.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this one.
Is Toxoplasma gondii, and this is the most widespread parasitic protozoa of all of them. Well, at least we know of.
Yeah.
Protozoa cause things like Legionnaire's disease. So some are infectious to humans, some are dangerous, some are not. And it essentially takes over the brain of the host and makes them do things and give them actions that cause them to die. For example, like rats, if it infects a rat.
Yeah, I think its usual host is a rat.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, in humans, it doesn't cause them to die necessarily. It alters our behaviour, but it causes rats to die.
It sexually reproduces in the intestine of cats, but it can essentially live in any warm-blooded mammal. So millions of eggs are shed in cat feces, but these could be eaten by dogs or rodents, and then the dog could lick you or something, or you could be changing the cat's litter tray and get infected yourself. And they essentially infect the muscle and the brain in order to stop the immune system from attacking, because I think those tissues are probably less surveillance by neutrophils and other things of the innate immune system.
Yeah.
So they can survive for longer. And they can remain dormant. The eggs can remain dormant as cysts, as they have a really tough cell wall. But an infected animal will then lose its innate fear of cats. So as the saying, bringing it back to the rat, the rat could get infected and then even be attracted to the smell of the cat and go out and then be eaten by the cat, which then infects the intestines. And then.
So really in the cycle, the cat is the goal of where it wants to
end. The cat is like the mosquito in malaria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It needs that but it can still infect other people. So what should I call them? Because I can't say what I said last time. I apologise for what I'm about to say, but crazy cat ladies, because that's what most people call them.
Defined by society.
Yeah. So, say you have a lot of cats, you're more exposed to Toxoplasma gondii infections, then you get attracted to the smell of cats, so you might get more and more cats, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle that causes more and more cats, and then you end up with 150. That's why you get dogs.
Yeah.
But if you're just thinking it might be a widespread infection, but I'm not likely to be infected by it. Well, 1/10 of the US population is infected by Toxoplasma gondii, and even in some countries like France, in some areas this infection rate is 8 times higher.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are more people infected with it than are not infected with it. Mm-hmm. But luckily, in the vast majority of people, it's asymptomatic. But people with weakened immune systems, such as pregnant women, it can cause problems, which is why if you've ever been pregnant or known someone that's pregnant, they say don't change the litter tray, which I didn't really know till...
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd never heard that.
Not just because it's gross, but...
No. But schizophrenic patients are also 2 to 3 times more likely to carry antibodies against Toxoplasma gondii, suggesting they've been infected with it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
And a study in road safety in Czechia found that the rate of accidents was 6 times higher in infected drivers.
Yeah.
So, but was this a causation or was it correlation? You don't really know. Were they just driving slower or more aggressive? Or was it just something that happened because people might be more infected in that area?
Yeah, it seems like a flawed study.
All right, well, that's everything I've got for now. If you have any other examples, please feel free to tweet.
Yeah, tweet them in at Eureka on Forge. Our next discussion, however, will be on the science behind fear. Okay, so our next discussion now is going to be on the science behind fear. So the first question you might wonder is, are we born afraid? So yes, technically. Yeah. It is evolutionarily advantageous to be scared of certain things. So that makes sense. If you're scared of something, you're more likely to stay away from it, and it's less likely to kill you, and you can live on and reproduce, which is how evolution works.
Yeah, like spiders. Like
spiders.
Like, all these animals insects have been biting my family, and they died an hour afterwards. Maybe I'll stay away from this.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I thought you meant your actual family.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, we're going to get deep now.
Okay, no. We're going to get deep.
My
Richard's
family went to...
family has been killed by spiders.
Yeah, it was one black widow spider in a set of bananas.
I actually found out recently black widow spiders they're not like the biggest killer.
No, it's something like the funnel web.
Yeah, because we actually do have an anti-venom to that. So
yeah.
It doesn't kill you instantly, but some of them do. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So there are inborn fears that keep us alive, so you don't even have to be exposed to them. And apparently we are only born with 2 innate fears, which are, as Richard said earlier, I think, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. But then obviously as we go through our life, we acquire and develop certain fears at a young age. And some can be genetically influenced. So say if your parents are scared of clowns, maybe you'd be scared of clowns.
Yeah, there's some studies that say it's epigenetically influenced as well.
Okay,
so you have a caterpillar, which essentially when it turns into a butterfly, it just melts into just a goop of cells and then rearranges into the caterpillar. Okay. But its original brain gets destroyed in this.
Okay.
But if you train it to be scared of a certain smell or vibration beforehand, they'll be scared as butterflies.
Okay, so they're still, even once their brain's been rejigged, they're still scared of things that they were scared of as a caterpillar. Yeah, that's very cool. So you could be genetically influenced by your fears, but also socially as well. But people do also tend to be afraid of things that they're not used to or haven't been exposed to before. So in one study, 77% of mothers said that their children were scared of water the first time they were confronted with it. I mean, that's fair enough, I think.
Yeah.
But you're also, the further away the children live from a body of water, the more likely they are to fear water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just less likely to encounter it.
Which is weird because as a baby you can float.
Yeah.
It's only when you get
can they?
Strange classes where people just get their babies and just dunk them underwater, and the baby naturally knows to hold its breath.
Yeah.
Because you see the footage and the babies have
they swim on their back and stuff
Yeah. But yeah, so even though you technically wouldn't be scared of water as a baby, if your mum just dunks you in a pool, later in life you're more likely to be scared of it if you've never been confronted with it before.
I think that was going back to the 2 fears, the fear of falling, the innate one. That's evolutionary reflex that we've maintained, because if you hold a baby and pretend to drop it, there's a pretend very important that you pretend to drop the baby is that it'll grip. It's a reflex in the hands. The hands will close because there's back to when humans came from primates, there's falling through the trees, they were looking for a branch to grab onto. And it's a reflex still.
There's a study I looked at A-level as well, where they essentially put the baby on this high platform and put a perspex clear glass above this other high platform, where the mother was there and saying come here, and got the baby to crawl across. Obviously if you were old enough to know that there was a perspex thing, you'd know that there was something there you could walk across, but the baby wouldn't.
Who's signing their babies up to these studies?
Who's doing this?
I don't know, it depends how much.
It's just be come on.
If someone was I'll give you $5,000 to do this, and you're the kid's not going to remember it.
Well, that's what Richard would do. Now I think my main fear is that you're going to have children and enter them into strange scientific studies if we offer you enough money.
Children for research purposes.
Why not? Good money-making system.
Moving on from Richard's controversial parenting strategy. There are, of course, irrational fears, so fears that don't make sense. So obviously falling out of a tree makes sense. But other ones are like earlier, fear of chickens, fear of clowns. So an irrational fear is usually a fear of something that isn't dangerous and therefore is maladaptive in many cases, which means that you're not benefiting from it. So apparently these fears are surprisingly common, and specific phobias are among the most prevalent type of anxiety disorder. So some common phobias apparently are fear of small animals, insects, flying, enclosed spaces, and blood. I feel like blood isn't that rational.
I suppose it depends on like your experience of it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not very helpful if you're a doctor, is it?
no. Like my brother's scared of chickens because when he was like 3, he got chased by a chicken.
Aww. Insects, I can relate to that one. I'm scared of butterflies.
So am I.
I hate them. Butterflies and moths. We had to go to a butterfly house once for one of our
Yes,
trips.
I remember.
I
Tropical
hated
Butterfly
it.
House.
Everyone was like, Charlie, are you okay? And I was like, I'm really not okay.
Yeah, I went to Chester Zoo in A level, and we had to do like this whole thing like for like 3 hours in this butterfly house, and there was more butterflies than I've ever seen, and I had to leave. Like I just stood outside.
I managed to sit through it because there weren't too many, but I was just like, this is just terrible.
I've put up with it for like an hour. After like 2 hours, it was like, no, let's just go away.
Exposed to something you're scared of. So for an irrational fear to become so pronounced, there's likely a combination of both genetic and environmental factors involved. So like you said about your brother was chased by a chicken, so it makes sense that he would be then scared of chickens. Estimates of the genetic influence on it, though, is put between 25 and 65%. And it's thought that there are multiple genes responsible and potentially epigenetics as well, which is things that aren't genes, but they're modifications to your DNA.
Yeah.
Although these genes have not been found yet.
And 25 to 65%
That's a big gap there. So some of the oddest irrational fears we've got here are nomophobia, which is a fear of having no mobile phone or no service. Philophobia, which is a fear of falling in love. I think that's the saddest one. And also, this is the best one, omphalophobia, a fear of belly buttons.
Completely justified. Yep.
Yeah, they're
Is it different for like outies and innies?
I don't know. I think
outies are more scary.
Yeah, because it's uncommon. It's like 1 in like 50 people have them.
Oh, really? Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's uncommon, but apparently you can be scared of that. And then, so lastly, just to wrap this up, should we talk about why the hairs stand up in the back of your neck?
Yeah.
Particular response to fear, you might think it's an odd one, but it actually has a very straightforward explanation. So when you feel fear, most people might know adrenaline gets released through your body, which is also known as like a fight or flight response.
Yep.
And it causes a rush, and it makes your heart race and your palms sweat, and it also triggers goosebumps, which is just what makes their hair stand up on end. So
you could also just be cold.
You could also just, and maybe if it's a ghost, then it's the chills. But goosebumps, do they serve a biological purpose? They may have done, but because humans aren't very hairy, they don't really do so anymore. But in animals such as cats and dogs, their hair standing on the end and like an arched back serves to make them look larger and thus scarier to anything that might be threatening them. So that's potentially the mechanism behind why humans have goosebumps, but I don't think ours are going to scare anything off.
I think it's dual, like you said, like if you're cold, the hairs stand up so that air is trapped in between that heats up the skin.
That's like
but then, I think there must be something that we're losing eventually in terms of the fear response to make yourself look bigger.
Well, that's like a thing if you're ever like about to be attacked by a lion or something. They say like make yourself look big, like take your coat off and like flail it around.
There's like a video of a bear like in Canada, and a guy spots it and it starts coming towards him. and he like puts his arm up and he like screams at it, and the bear turns around and runs
away.
It's
the same thing with a moose. Yeah. Like a moose charged them, and he had like a big log, and he like lifted it above his head. And he's like screaming at this moose. Yeah, and he just stops dead.
You're meant to make a loud noise that's not high pitched, and just make yourself look as big as possible.
Yeah,
because you're not meant to run.
Don't run from bears.
Unless you can outrun whoever you're with.
Yes, or trip them.
True. There's like a joke like that or something, isn't there?
Yeah. It's like, why are you going to
run? One person like turns around to run away, and another one does up his laces, and he's like, "You'll never outrun a lion," and it's like, "No, I just have to outrun you." But yeah, on that happy little note there, that is all we've got on the science behind fear, and thus the end of our episode. So thank you for listening. You can catch any other episodes that you would like to watch on Mixcloud /Eureka on Forge, and then also you can tweet us at Eureka on Forge as well.
We have a YouTube as well,
and now we've got a YouTube as well, which I imagine, if it's going with the template of all the rest of our platforms, it's called Eureka on Forge. But yeah, we'll double check that. So yeah, goodbye from me, Charlie.
Goodbye from me, Jason.
And it's a goodbye from me, Richard.